Bayou and Bullshyt is Louisiana history, served with sass, flavor, and my own spin on the truth. I'm Shika Denise, and I'm taking you from the Bayou banks to the French Quarter streets, digging into the legends, the lies, the stories that made this state one of a kind. So grab your sweet tea, baby. We're about to stir the pot. Welcome to Bayou and Bullshyt, the podcast where I dig deep into the roots of family, folklore, and some downright fucked up history right here in Louisiana. This episode kicks off my family history series, Bloodlines. And baby, this ain't no fairy tale. Now, the episodes of Bloodline are going to be different. I usually cuss like it's a second language, but since my grandma might be listening, I'ma try to behave. Try being the key word. If a few slip out, my bad, mama. So, when I was 15, I had this assignment to make a family tree. You know, typical high school shit. I half-assed it and moved on. But over the years, I kept picking at little pieces here and there, finding out small pieces of information. Then my little cousin started asking questions about our history, and that got me back in the search. Fast forward to 2022, at a family reunion on my mama's side, I decided it was time to find out where we came from. And baby, I uncovered some secrets, some messy tea. Another cousin of mine also helped me find a land deed to a property that our ancestor once owned. And yeah, I needed to write a book. But ADHD said no, so here I am telling it all right here. But before I dive into my ancestors' drama, you know what time it is. I'm about to pour a big old glass of this week's Louisiana sweet tea. Because this right here, ooh, child, it's a mess. So currently in New Orleans, instead of Mardi Gras beads or a lost po' boy rapper, some city workers are digging through a stanky-ass landfill looking for capital murder cases. Yeah, you heard me. Capital murder cases. Somebody with a paycheck and a title thought it was a great idea to toss decades of court records. Y'all, I am talking about murder trials, aggravated rapes, people's whole lives, and their justice straight in the garbage. These are cases that are from the 1950s to the 1970s. Two trailers of file folders buried under crawfish shells and coffee grounds. Because you know we love our coffee and crawfish in Louisiana. Lord, please bless those city workers digging through that garbage, because I just couldn't do it. And now, City Hall wants to act all shocked, like paperwork can just sprout legs and walk off to the trash by itself. Child, let me tell you something. I was born that night, not last night, and I wasn't born yesterday. So Governor Jeff Landry was like, he wants the state police to launch an immediate investigation into the dump records. He is calling this a disgusting abuse of power, and he vows accountability. These documents were supposed to be locked up safe, but instead, the two trailers were moved without notice. Voters will soon have to decide on a $415 million bond to fund city projects, including extra storage space for things such as court records, which the event of dumping the files leaves a very sore spot with the city. Clerk Darren Lombard says that the renovations will let court records be moved to a safe, reliable place. City council members call the current situation a sad state of affairs. Now, Lombard is still spilling tea because he came back and said that Public Works Director Rick Hathaway gave the order. Tita Cantrell's team said Mr. Hathaway is not available for comment. He don't want nobody to talk to Hathaway. He shouldn't have threw that shit away. But, sorry, my mom. But, y'all, the investigation is on. People is mad. And me, I'm just sitting here thinking. In New Orleans, even the trash got a story. But this one, baby, this here is a damn mess. And trust me, the truth is going to stick a whole lot longer than that landfill. Okay, baby. Now that the trash talk's settled, let's get to the real story. About a man whose name barely made it past whispers. My great-great-great-grandfather, Abraham Morgan. And the woman who loved him, betrayed him, and sold his soul, Josephine Smith Morgan. Yeah, my great-great-great grandma. So, Abraham was born sometime between 1863 and 1867 in Donaldsonville, Louisiana. His mama, Mahalia, was a widow early on. His daddy may be a man named Joshua. I did find a census record from 1870 with Mahalia and Joshua and a son named Abraham from Donaldsonville, and that record would make Abraham born in 1867. And let me just throw in, Mahalia was 35, making her birth year 1835 or 34, and Joshua was 40, which makes him born in at least 1830 or 1829, which is around the time of slavery. So I want to lean more towards the 63, because based off of the age that he was telling people he was when he was admitted to the hospital, he definitely was born in 63. And then he had some hospital records that he actually went to the hospital in 1884 and he was 17, so that would make him born in 63. But child, we don't know. We're just gonna go with the child. Okay? So going off the idea that Joshua and Mahalia was Abraham's parents, we're gonna say yeah, because there is no other family on any other census record in the town with those names, and we've always been told we have Joshua Morgan in our family. But this Joshua was a mulatto man, and Abraham was a mulatto on one of the census records. Mahalia was a Native American, or she was indigenous. I don't know which one to use. I'm going to just say Native American because, well, she was Native and she was from America, child. So I feel like that makes Abraham a Creole. And if you missed my Creole versus Cajun episode, child, go catch up because this is how I came to this conclusion. But Abraham had about 5 or 6 years of education. Pretty standard for a black boy in post-slavery America. He wasn't rich, but he had something a little more valuable. He had his land. Now, this land was passed down to Abraham from his mother. And I assume that because Abraham owned the land in 1915, he inherited that land before his mother passed. And we'll get to why I think that. Now, remember, that land deed that I mentioned, keep it in your pocket. We coming back to that one. For real, for real. So, a lot of my quotes from Abraham come from his hospital record. We're going to get into where the records came from and all that, honey. Well, I'm going to just get into it right now. When I started my family search, I did not know where to begin. I went to our local library to use their version of Ancestry.com. Sorry, I live close to the airport, so if y'all hit a plane, I'm sorry. But I went to the local library to use their version of Ancestry.com, and the librarian on duty told me that a lot of records can be found at our Louisiana Archives building. Well, that wasn't far from where I was living at the time, so I ended up going to the archives and getting a subscription to the middle tier version of Ancestry. I was not ready for the worldwide records because I'm black, and to be honest, it is very hard for us to trace our ancestors. So I just stuck with the little middle tier, which if you are, I'm gonna say it for anybody. If you are looking for family, like records, Ancestry.com is your best bet, and also your state archives is a great place to start. After finding Abraham's death certificate at the state archives, I learned that he died at a hospital in Jackson, Louisiana. If you're from Louisiana and you hear me saying he died at a hospital in Jackson, you already know which one. But don't ruin it for the people that don't know. Okay. So, the hospital still exists, and I called them to see if they could give me the records because me and Abraham share the same last name. He is my relative. I can't prove that he's my relative on paper because back then there were no birth certificates, so there's no paper trail. Matter of fact, my grandma don't even have a birth certificate. But y'all them people laughed at me. Them people said I was looking to find his grave. Anyways, I went back to the state archives building to look at other records for other family members because I felt like I was at a dead end for Abraham. And I just so happened to be talking to one of the workers there. And she tells me that your hospital records are right in the same building you're in right now. So she let me fill out a form so that they could look up the hospital records for me. And then they'll call me when they're ready. She called me about, I want to say about 6 to 7. It may have been a full week later, and she found the records. They existed. Um, I was lucky to stumble on those records. I cried like a baby because I was happy I had a piece of something that's from my past. It feels good for a black person to find out where they come from. Trust me, it does. So here are some of Abraham's words, and we'll keep going on with his story. I was a working boy, walking on the levee during high water. I was paying my mama's rent. They said I was sick and put me in jail. My family and friends said they couldn't do nothing with me. I wasn't crazy when they sent me here first. A hoodoo doctor treated me with whiskey, garlic, and salt and burned me real bad. When they got all my money, they said I was crazy and they sent me to jail. Yep, yep. Um, y'all know how I feel about voodoo. I done said it already. If you haven't, go listen to my Clementine Barnabette episode. Um, Back then people believed in hoodoo. They believed in voodoo. They believed in all of that. People still believe in this today. Um, I think that was a black person's go-to instead of going to, because we didn't have doctors back then. So I do feel like, yeah, they sent him to a doctor. So moving on. Now we are going to talk about Miss Josephine, the woman they called Josephine. So Josephine was born around 1869, and she was the daughter of Chaz and Josephine Smith. Yes, she was Josephine Jr. So on paper, my Josephine, my great grandma, well, both of them my great grandma, but on paper she was a wife, a homemaker, and a mother of 7. But behind closed doors, she had secrets. And the biggest one, she was allegedly creeping with E.D. Wright, the town undertaker. Child. Abraham said he was working hard, baby. He was working his fingers to the bone. He said, I'll bring my fingers down to the bone. Go ahead, G-Wayne. That's my song. Okay. But Josephine was working on something else, baby. Josephine said, okay. And we're going to get into why she felt like that. We're going to get into why. But when asked, was anybody trying to kill him, Abraham said one name, Ed Wright. He also said, he wants my property. And charm too. He gets a glimpse of me. He's the worst man in the world. But he's got money. The charm that he was talking about was none other than my grandma, Josephine. Back in those times, families were pretty big, and Abraham and Josephine had 7 children. Yeah, they was knocking them down. And I'm gonna tell you why, cause baby, all right, hold on, let me fix my headphones. But Joshua, so I'm about to name their children and tell you when they were born, and give you a little bit of what I know about their kids, just to whatever. But Joshua, who was born in 1891, is special because he is my great-great-grandfather. He also died in a similar manner to his father. But we going to get into his story in another episode because this is a 3-story arc. Yeah, I'm stretching it out. I ain't about to let y'all sit here for 3 hours talking about these people. But Alberta, who was born in 1895, was the eldest daughter. And allegedly, she was a handful for her daddy and her brothers, baby. Their third child, Robert, was born in 1896. And I don't got much on Uncle Robert. And I'm going to get to why. Uncle Raymond, that's what my grandma called him, was born in 1898. And he is the reason why I was able to find the family line. Because my grandmother actually knew him. Like, she grew up with him. More on him in that other episode. Amy was born in 1902. And that's all that I have for her. Joseph, he is the youngest son, and he was born in 1907. And I literally only have his birth year in my record. I don't know anything about him except for I know he was alive at the age of 39 when Joshua was, yeah. in Joshua's episode. I can't give too much. And little Irina, who was the baby girl, was born in 1908, and that's all I have on her. Well, that's not all that I have on her, but we getting to it. We're gonna get to it. But life was not kind to this family at all. Josephine also had between 5 to 8 miscarriages. Child. So let's just say she had the 8 miscarriages, y'all. And the 7 kids, that's 15 times that woman was pregnant. Y'all, that's a lot of kids. Ugh. Girl. Okay, but on paper, the tragedy that I can prove started in 1915. On March 25th, 1915, Mahalia, Abraham's mama, died from rheumatism. And rheumatism is any disease that is marked by inflammation and pain in the joints, muscles, or fibrous tissue. And this could have been rheumatoid arthritis or something that some people can die from pain, literally. But another thing, with Mahalia, I feel that the day is right, but the year could be off because I can't find a death certificate for her, which saddens me. But I have to go off the words of Abraham. But I did find a death certificate for a woman named Mahalia Morgan, and she didn't die in Donaldsonville, and she died on that day, but in 1913. So it's a strong possibility it could be her. I'm not sure, but his hospital record said that she died that year, so I'm gonna go with that year. So if Mahalia did die on March the 25th, 3 days after she died, her grandson Robert would die of tuberculosis. Yes, Uncle Robert died, and he was only 18 years old. Moving on. On May 18th of that same year, 1915, Amy died of TB, and she was only 13. So now we down his mama and 2 kids. So in January of 1914, Abraham was arrested in Donaldsonville. The charges are unknown. After 2 months and 18 days, on March the 12th, 1914, he was sent to Pineville Prison. He was released from there on July the 19th, 1914. But by September the 24th, 1915, he was being admitted, or should I say committed, to the East Louisiana Hospital for the Insane in Jackson, Louisiana. Yes, the hospital that my grandfather was sent to was an insane asylum. Now let's rewind a little. This was not his first time being at the asylum. No, on May 28, 1884, at the age of 17, and this is why I say he's possibly born in 63, he'd been admitted for acute mania. And today we call that bipolar disorder. He was released 6 months later on November the 16th. Now, I know y'all are wondering, why are you giving us all these dates? But this is for a record for my family. So when my family members hear this, they can be like, okay, write this date down, if the dates matter. Because to some people, dates don't matter. But I'm definitely a numbers person, so dates matter to me. And yeah, they do. I'm going to be honest, people in my family who are interested in these stories, they're older than me, and they don't really have the time or the energy to look up this information. So I just rather go ahead and give it to them because I got it. The young people, a few of them, they don't really care the way I do. My kids kind of care, and maybe they'll care when they're older, but they'll at least have the record when they have kids, just in case it happens for, one of the kids say, well, tell us about our family. But back to the story. This time at the asylum may have been different for Abraham because this time he had his own family and a wife. The first time he went, he didn't have that. He was just young. He was young. When asked how he got sick, Abraham said, I asked my daughter for a needle and 3 on the day of a funeral. She thought I had my wife's needle, but it was mine. She called the constable and had me arrested. She said she wanted to get rid of me so they could do what they wanted. Y'all, Alberta was the one that made the call. I don't know if Titi was scared of being manipulated. I don't know. But the result, Abraham got locked away. And Josephine made her move. Now, if you can remember the quote that I quoted earlier in the episode. It came from the admittance of Abraham's final time being admitted to the hospital, because after his 1915 stay, he went back home. But once again, he would be sent back to Jackson, where he would die. Now, Abraham was not perfect by no means. He did his dirt. He had other women, may have brought home STDs. He hurt her. He hurt Josephine. And he was also an alcoholic. He admitted to this on his own. When asked about his habits, Abraham said, "I once drank plenty of whiskey and wine." When asked was there any change in his disposition, Abraham responded with, "The disposition I used to follow, I stopped. I used to fool with women." Y'all, did he know what disposition meant? Let me look it up. I don't know where to look it up. Hold on. Let me look it up. Because I need to know what disposition is. I thought that sounded like a court case, huh? Disposition. A person's inherent qualities of mind and character. Okay, maybe he did know a little bit. Maybe he did know. Maybe he did know. We're gonna go with the fact that he knew. Okay, Abraham. Abraham was right. He was fooling with the women. But I feel like Grandma Josephine wanted revenge. And according to her husband, baby, she got it. While Abraham was locked up, his land was gone. Now, I'm gonna get to a part in the story where I can tell you why I feel like Abraham was away when his land was sold. Boom. But what I want to know is, was Abraham crazy? Or was his first admittance to the insane asylum a gateway for Josephine to get rid of him? Like, come on now. Y'all, Abraham was not buried in a coffin while he was buried alive. Y'all, Abraham was buried alive. He wasn't buried in no coffin just yet. He was buried alive in that insane asylum. He had been dwindled down to a name in a file, and he was now just a ghost with a pulse. But he was furloughed in February of 1916. He would be discharged fully from the hospital on May the 10th, 1916. He was declared by a doctor on his leave as stable. But just 1 year later, one year and 1 month later, on June 19th, 1917, he was readmitted. Doctors said upon his arrival that he was talkative, excitable, he could not sleep, and he was not violent. Not violent. Not violent. Okay. 2 years after Abraham had been admitted for this last time, his youngest daughter, Irina, died on October the 10th, 1919. She too would die from tuberculosis like her older brother and sister. She was only 11. I am not sure if Abraham knew this or not, because I have a letter that Josephine sent. She sent one in 1918, which is before Irina died. And then she sent another one in 1920, which is after she died. And there's no mention of Irina in that letter. So this last time, after being at the asylum for a while, his speech began to grow disorganized. His diagnosis was shifted to dementia praecox, which is now today known as schizophrenia. So today, my great-great-great-grandfather would be a bipolar schizophrenic. I did see a shift in his records, the way he talked from when he first got there to that last time of him being admitted. Knowing that they called schizophrenia dementia praecox is crazy, because what is dementia today? Is it similar to schizophrenia? I'm not sure, because I had stopped going to school for this a long time ago, so I didn't get that far. But I'm gonna have to figure that out, because I don't know. On January 21st of 1921, the hospital sent Josephine a telegram. The telegram told her that Abraham was dying, and they did not expect his condition to improve. Sadly, on January the 30th at 10:45 a.m., he was gone. He had died from a cerebral hemorrhage. This is a type of stroke where bleeding occurs inside the brain. Abraham would have no funeral and no one would tell him goodbye. He was just buried on hospital grounds, and that's where his remains are till this day. The man who would never know his grandkids or great grands, just buried, alone. Grandma Josephine would go on to live for 14 more years after Abraham disappeared from her and her children's life. So she died in 1935, January of 1935. And I just want to know, did Grandma regret it? Like, did she carry guilt? Or did she believe that she did what she had to do? We will never know because these are people we can no longer ask these questions. Was Grandpa really crazy? To be honest, I just can't see past her selling that land and possibly carrying on an affair with the man who wanted what Abraham had. Like, y'all know land was like, to have land, man. So I do know that when Abraham was admitted for the second time in 1915, he did know that he no longer owned his land. Because when X was suspicious of being wrong, he said, yes, sir. They tried to wrong me by getting my property my mama left me. They claim that I have sold it, and I did not. When asked the question, anybody try to rob you? He said, yes, sir. They took my watch, robbed me from my property, and took my money out of my pocket. Reading his words 2 years after I received the records, to finally understand that Abraham had scars that reached far beyond anything Grandma Josephine could have done him. When he first got admitted to Jackson in 1884, that may have been the moment that changed the course of his life forever, because he was now labeled insane. He had a diagnosis that would follow him forever. And the answer was only going to be to send him to Jackson for anything. One thing is for sure. Josephine's choices left marks, scars trickling down through generations. There is no land. I don't even know if Raymond's grandchildren are still living. I had a whole cousin that I didn't even know about until the lady had passed away. And I'll talk about her in my second episode because she's Raymond's daughter, his only child. And y'all, that's kind of where their line ends. If she had her kids, I don't know. I have to read up on her one more time because I literally forgot. I just remembered that my sister had a lot of accomplishments, and I was proud to say she was related to me. She's a Morgan. I feel like she's a bright spot in all of this chaos. And like I said, I'm going to get into her in that second episode because I don't want to stretch out this one any more than I already have. Next time, we will dig into the life of Abraham and Josephine's oldest son, Joshua Morgan. The Bloodlines series will not come out back to back because I have to make sure all of my dates and everything are correct with that script. So there will be, I already have scripts written in between this one. So next Friday you'll get an episode. And then the following Friday you'll get another episode, but the third Friday after this one. So not next Friday, not the Friday after that, but the Friday after that, Bloodlines will come back out. Joshua had his own demons. And like I told you, I'm gonna add the siblings to the mix, Alberta and Robert for sure, because Birdie was something. And she wasn't done acting a fool after Abraham. I really want to know, like, because I don't know them, I want to know if she really genuinely was scared and called the police because she was scared. I need to know this, girl. Don't come see me in my sleep because I don't know. But that story is coming, and baby, it's just as wild. If you want me to help you with your family search, send me your inquiries to my email, Bayou and Bullshyt without the I, podcast@gmail.com. Don't put that I in shit. Thank you. I will do what I can from my side, but there are things that you'll have to do on your own, and we can see what we can get. And if you would like to donate to Bayou and Bullshyt podcast, please click the link in the description. It is called Buy Me a Coffee. And all you got to do is buy me a coffee. No amount is too small and everything is appreciated. The link will be in my bio, or you can click the link on my IG profile. Either way it go, you can get to me. But thank you for listening. If you're feeling shook, good. These are the stories that didn't make it into the textbooks, but they built the bones of who I am. All right, baby. That's going to wrap up this episode of Bayou and Bullshyt. If you enjoy stirring the pot with me today, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with your people. And don't forget, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube, all under Bayou and Bullshyt. Until next time, keep your gumbo hot, your stories true, but your heart in Louisiana.